Confusion in Charlotte, North Carolina. Local officials there say the federal immigration crackdown is over, but the Homeland Security Department says it's not ending anytime soon. The Border Patrol official who led this operation, Greg Bovina, has left for his next assignment. He and his agents are expected to launch an operation in New Orleans as soon as December 1st. Joining us now is CNN correspondent Priscilla Alvarez. So tell us, what did we see from immigration officers during this operation in Charlotte?
Well, Pamela, a lot of what we saw in Charlotte is exactly what we saw in Chicago and Los Angeles, and that's because of who is leading it, which is Gregory Ravino. We'll get to him in a second, but this is what we know about what is going on in Charlotte right now. Gregory Bovino, who has been leading the charge in the immigration crackdown in these cities, him and some of his agents left Charlotte yesterday. That's according to a Homeland Security official that I spoke with. Now, what occurred is the confusion. That's what prompted it. Local officials saying that the federal immigration enforcement operation had ended. The Department of Homeland Security, however, saying it's not ending anytime soon. Here's why this is confusing. Immigration enforcement operations have been ongoing in multiple cities across the country, and that's going to continue to be the case in Charlotte. However, the Border Patrol portion has concluded. There are some agents that have been left behind, but when we see those controversial and heavy-handed tactics, those are chalked up to Gregory Bovino. So when he leaves town, there is an element of this operation that ends while general immigration enforcement with ICE and perhaps some other CBP agents can continue. So that's why this was confusing for those on the ground. Again, the department saying that the operation that they launched there is ongoing. It's just going to look different than what it looked like over the last 5 or so days. And what did that ultimately result in? Over 370 arrests. 44 of those had criminal records. These have been updated numbers that the Department of Homeland Security has been providing. And as you can see here, speaks to the fact that what we've seen in other data, the majority do not have criminal records, though they may have pending criminal charges. Now, in terms of what happens next, well, the next operation, I'm told, is going to be in New Orleans, again, with Gregory Bovino and his agents. And the question is, why there? And the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has had this to say when it comes to why operations are happening where they're happening. She said, quote, "These operations are based on where we have a criminal element to our illegal alien population that's in the country and what we can do to get them off of our streets and protect our children and people." So New Orleans is next. That's a vague answer, but what my sources tell me is that they believe that there is a criminal element there that they want to crack down on. There's also, in many of these cases, a political layer because these are Democratic-led cities. Louisiana, however, is interesting because it's a Republican-led state in this Democratic-led city. Okay, but Gregory Bovino, he's the guy that we're always watching. He's the chief patrol agent of the El Centro sector. So his job is actually along the U.S. southern border, but he has been tapped by the administration to lead this crackdown in multiple cities. In fact, he reports now directly to the secretary. Otherwise, he would have others within the agency he'd be reporting to as well. Now, he is familiar with New Orleans. He led the Border Patrol's New Orleans sector during the first Trump administration. So he is going to an area that he is familiar with and he has worked in, because it's worth reminding people that U.S. Border Patrol is located around the country and has operations ongoing in multiple cities. So again, he's been to Los Angeles, Chicago, and Charlotte. He has faced a lot of legal scrutiny, especially in Chicago, for his tactics, though those heavy-handed tactics certainly showed themselves in Charlotte as well. So he has been dogged by lawsuits, by criticism. He, however, stands by everything he's doing. I spoke with him earlier this year, and he said that he is following immigration law, and he is doing things the way that he has been trained to do things. He's just doing it in multiple cities, and the way he's doing it is certainly drawing a lot of attention and also a lot of controversy.
Yeah, it certainly is, because he's with Border Patrol, and that they have different tactics perhaps they would use at the border than inside an American city.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Priscilla Alvarez. We appreciate it. Wolf?
All right, as New Orleans now braces for immigration officials to arrive, Pope Leo at the Vatican is condemning the Trump administration's hardline immigration tactics. Pope Leo, of course, is the first U.S.-born head of the Catholic Church. I want you to listen to this.
We have to look for ways of treating people humanely, treating people with the dignity that they have. But when people are living good lives, and many of them for 10, 15, 20 years, to treat them in a way that is extremely disrespectful, to say the least, and there's been some violence, unfortunately.
Archbishop Thomas Wensky of the Miami Archdiocese is joining us right now. Archbishop, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for all your important work. I know you have also spoken out against the Trump administration's immigration enforcement tactics that are unfolding around the country right now. What's your reaction to the Pope's latest comments?
Well, the Pope is certainly very correct in what he's saying, and he's reflecting what the bishops of the United States have said most recently about 2 weeks ago in our special statement on immigration and our opposition to indiscriminate mass deportations. And I think that's the issue. You know, we have people in government and some media that are flaming fires of resentment against migrants, and they want to depict every one of them as a terrorist, and almost as a terrorist intent on doing us harm. The truth is that the vast majority of these immigrants are not criminals. They're not people they're not dangerous. They're people that are basically trying to make a life for themselves and their families. And these people, when they fall into the hands of ICE or Border Patrol, they should be treated with dignity. Just as when a policeman stops us, we want the policeman to treat us correctly and legally and not abuse his authority. And the same way with Border Patrol. And at the same time, you know, the bishops also pointed out that, you know, this rhetoric or violence directed towards immigrants, we condemn that, but we also condemn any rhetoric or violence directed towards law enforcement or to the ICE officials, because they are human beings as well and deserving of respect. And as long as they do their job as they're supposed to, they should get that respect.
A good point. I'm glad you made it. I know you've also spoken out, Archbishop, about your own personal experience as the son of immigrants here in the United States. How has that shaped your views of what we're seeing right now unfold across the country?
Well, my father immigrated from Eastern Europe, from Poland, what's now Poland, and he came here as a young child, and I think that sort of gave me empathy towards the plight of immigrants. And I remember I spent my whole priesthood, now almost 50 years, working with immigrants, Hispanics, with Haitians especially. I worked 18 years as the pastor of Haitian communities in South Florida before I became a bishop. And as a bishop, I've been involved a lot in this effort to secure a comprehensive immigration reform. We were very close to it, and then 9/11 happened. If you remember back then, Vicente Fox addressed a joint session of Congress, and President Bush at that time, the head of what was then INS, Immigration Naturalization Services, were very confident that Congress would pass a comprehensive immigration reform. Then 9/11 happened, and that kind of threw everything off. And you know, and those people that perpetrated those crimes against us, those terrorists, they all of them came into the country legally. So, but somehow we transferred the perceived threat of terrorists onto immigrants that are basically washing our cars, mowing our lawns, or cleaning our grandparents' bedpans in nursing homes.
Archbishop Thomas Wensky of Miami, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for all the important work you do in beautiful Miami. We appreciate it very much.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.